Welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future Survivor players how to play the game by criticizing current players. Today, we are looking at Survivor 46, Episode 10, Run the Red Light. I'm one of your co-hosts, Josh Wessler, joined today by Ryan Stacy and Derek Kubicek. How you guys doing?
I am hungry for Applebee's. That's how I'm doing.
I could absolutely go for a shark bowl and a sampler platter.
Honestly, this episode made Applebee's look so good.
I have to say, so I am not a professional podcaster. Surprise, surprise. I am in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say kudos to the Applebee's marketer. You know, they probably use an agency, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But, you know, kudos to the agency that facilitates the Applebee's marketing. You got your money's worth tonight. Good job.
Yep. God, it looks so good. We spent literally a third of the episode on Applebee's and how much one player wants it and doesn't get it, and how much everyone else loves it. And yeah, it's like 1/3 of an Applebee's ad of this episode. And you know what? It was hilarious. I'm totally fine with it. We were talking during the episode how like this over the top like brand like what's what I'm looking for?
Shilling.
No, like it's shilling, but like
Product placement?
Product placement. That's what I'm looking for. Product placement.
But can you call it product placement if they're also talking about it?
Yeah.
Salivating
it's just
over
not subtle.
Yeah, it's not subtle.
You know,
product placement.
it's not the I think they used Ford, but like the Ford that is driving through the Barbie movie that is much more noticeable the second time through, might I add.
Chevy.
And you know, I'm not someone who really minds product placement. And I actually appreciate it the more over the top it is. Like Wayne's World or Talladega Nights, like that kind of like if you're gonna do product placement, let's just do some product placement. And Survivor, I love when they do it. And it goes all the way back to season 1. It wasn't like super there in season 1, but it was there, and you know they have fun with it. And so that's the main takeaway: is product placement can be fun.
My favorite might be the fridge of, was it Sprite and
There's a Sierra Mist one. They did a Coca-Cola and Diet Coke one.
but there was a mini fridge in the Amazon, right?
I think it was Coke and Diet Coke.
I think, well, they did a 7-Up, I think.
There was a 7-Up one too.
Absolutely beautiful. Let's bring back the fridge.
The mini fridge.
Filled with a soft drink. I absolutely want this in my life.
I love that kind of stuff. Or like the
The Sears.
or Outhouse. I like the Sears catalog. The Outback Steakhouse.
We're just going to give you a ton of supplies to build an epic shelter.
Yep.
Sponsored by
Charmin.
Sears. Or
I think there was one that was sponsored by Charmin. I'm on board. It's hilarious. Let's do it. Get Survivor a little extra money.
Oh, yeah.
I hope they got a lot because Applebee's got their money's worth tonight.
Mm-hmm.
There was an episode of Survivor in here too, and you know what? It was a really fun episode. Great vote. Just all around fun episode.
Applebee's just got a bunch of free marketing from us too, by the way.
Hey, we talk about Survivor, and Applebee's was prominent on Survivor. Therefore, we talk about Applebee's.
Applebee's is really earning their marketing.
Yep.
Hey, they could sponsor us.
And you know what? Look, I don't even... They can sponsor us, but honestly, I don't even mind just because it made the episode hilarious.
Missed opportunity. Right when we cut to commercial, there was an Applebee's commercial.
For the Dollarita.
Where's the shark bowl?
Yep.
It's not on the menu, folks. We need to bring back the shark bowl at Applebee's.
Yes.
I'm upset. I want to order one. I would go to Applebee's this Friday and order a shark bowl in the middle of my workday.
Let's go. We'll call them up on Friday. We're gonna get off work. I'm gonna call Applebee's and ask them if they have a shark bowl. And if they do, we're going.
A direct link to their president or CEO or
I want
whomever.
a shark bowl. Don't we have a podcast, Stu?
Yes, we do. Somewhere in here.
Let's start an Applebee's podcast, guys.
Run the red light. Run the red light. Go straight to Applebee's. And now we're gonna talk about Survivor. It was just a really fun episode. We're having a blast.
Sometimes at other people's expense, and sometimes
most of the time,
and sometimes at other people's expense.
This was a dark comedy of an episode of Survivor. It might make me a bad person, but I laughed a lot.
I think the only person that laughed more than you was Derek.
If Ryan's a horrible person, there is no hope for me. And I think at this point, can we just hop into spoilers?
Yeah, let's get to spoilers. If you haven't watched this episode, what are you doing? You're missing out. Go get some Applebee's and check out this episode. Spoiler alert in 3, 2, 1. I think the top story tonight is Liz did not get any Applebee's.
and nobody has ever been so upset not to get Applebee's.
They should honestly hire her as like a spokesperson now.
Maybe that was her angle all along.
Oh my god, playing the long game, become like the Flo from Progressive for Applebee's.
I mean, she's a billionaire. She got there by, building businesses.
Billionaire Liz Wilcox building brands and businesses, all while starving on Survivor. There's a lot of alliteration.
There. I have heard in like places like Applebee's and chain restaurants like that, like if you go in, odds are you will find one millionaire.
I mean, that's because there are a lot of just retired old millionaires.
And they go to Applebee's.
And honestly, the older I get, weirdly enough, boys, I get it. We were in here's another sidetrack.
Okay.
Ryan, we went out for your birthday. You share a birthday with my wife and my son, which is absolutely wild. You went to one of our favorite local bar/restaurants. One of your favorite.
Shout outs to Pounds.
Shout out to Pounds in Fargo.
So good.
The whole time we were there, I was thinking, this is nice, but this is pretty noisy, because it was just one of those repurposed former industrial buildings where all of the sound comes off of every service and bounces in every direction. And then I walked into Applebee's and I was thinking, wow, it's quiet.
It's nice and quiet in here.
So I get it.
It's because all the floors are carpeted.
Exactly. So I get it.
Yeah.
But man, I think Liz needed it more badly than I did.
Yep. What a meltdown. Like, I know Banu had a pretty epic meltdown this season, but Liz, man. Liz giving Banu a run for his money.
The thing with Banu is it's not as jarring when it comes from him because we all expected it. It was just his personality. Liz, I mean, until like the last episode or two where we're finally starting to get a little bit more screen time from her and her personality is coming out a little bit more and she's getting more frustrated with each episode and more malnutritious with every episode. And it's just that it was so unexpected that...
And extreme.
I was kind of speechless. Like, Derek's laughing over in the corner, and I don't even know how to react because I'm just so caught off guard.
Yeah, it was incredible. I don't know what else to say. And if you haven't seen it, like, it is incredible to watch, and it's hilarious.
One of the biggest meltdowns in Survivor history, in terms of an outburst magnitude, it is easily the least uncomfortable of all of them because it came from a place of hunger, and also because Liz, bottom 3 player this season in terms of ability to win since day one, is the consensus opinion on this podcast, is really upset that the second least likely person to win blew up her game.
Like, there's an entire side thing, a subplot that's going on over here outside of the main game of Survivor.
This felt like one of those nature photogs watching a praying mantis fight a centipede or something, and meanwhile there's the entire jungle environment, habitat around you with things that are much more important going on, or much bigger, but we're zooming in on this fight for just a second. And I did laugh more than I should have. That's not meant to take a jab at Liz because she's not eating.
No, yeah.
I get it. But in the midst of all this, the fact that she's complaining about how Q tanked her game too, well, okay, but from everyone else's perspective, Liz, I think doing this tanks your game a little bit too.
I'm not so sure.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, this just hilarious. Let's get into the episode and start talking our way through this because there's a lot going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, by the way, somebody left. We lose Tiffany tonight.
Oh, yeah, Tiffany
in a major blind side. Wow, classic Liz overshadowing someone else in an episode.
Yeah, no, Tiffany's going to get taken out with an eye in her pocket, but we'll get to that. We get back to camp, and Liz is going to say, "What the heck, you hoe bags?" And we're off and running. Quote of the episode. I loved it.
Heck of a whole shot here. Let's go.
How's that not the episode title?
Yeah, so she's like, why was I left out? And they're all like, oh, it was a last minute change. We just couldn't tell you in time. Okay.
Sus.
Little sus. But yeah, Q's go next, definitely. Everyone wants Q out next. Maria is like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, do you know who else should be like that? Liz and Venus.
Yep.
But at least Maria has a head on her shoulders.
Maria's gonna go down and talk to Q and like check in on him like a human to human level, and it's totally like I want his jury vote, and I also want to use this guy's number, but I'll check on him, play nice. Very effective. Yeah, being just nice on Survivor will get you a long way.
It doesn't cost anything to be nice.
And Maria's smart. Like, can see Q is the perfect person to bring along right now. No one will vote for him to win.
He is the definition of a Survivor pariah right now.
Yep. One of the biggest ones we've had in a long time.
A long time, yes.
So there's like, okay, maybe instead of taking out Q, we can take out Tiffany instead. And Maria, Kenzie, and Charlie are going to talk about this. My winner picks in trouble.
Uh-oh.
But here we go. The reward challenge. It's Applebee's. And Jeff is just like rubbing it in about how delicious this food is.
Weirdly enough, Ryan, when you and I did go to Applebee's because of my hankering, 2 of the 3 meals that were shown on that table are exactly what we ordered.
Yeah,
I got the sampler platter and you got the...
Bourbon Street chicken and steak, or shrimp and chicken thing, or whatever. Steak and shrimp.
Bourbon Street chicken and shrimp.
That's the one. I got that.
Because that's what I usually get.
It's really good.
Yeah. And it's on the 2 for, I think, 25 now.
It's hard to believe.
Used to be 2 for 20.
We're not sponsored by Applebee's.
You'd really think, hey, Applebee's, we're looking for sponsors.
Yeah, if you want to sponsor us, go for it. Pretty please.
I don't know why you would, because you're getting all this free advertising anyways.
We'll bring you up every episode if you sponsor us.
And send me a shark bowl.
Yeah, bring back the shark bowl. But Q is going to win a reward. And Liz is straight up begging him to take her. And I just remind everyone, last week on the revote, Liz was the only person who voted for Q on the revote. She was left out of the vote. She was the one who wanted Q gone like the most. Everyone else went for Hunter. Liz went for Q.
Twice.
So Q is going to bring Tiffany because he's like, I got to try and patch things up with the old tribe. Makes sense. Q is on the bottom. Who are the best strategic picks for him? Maria, because she's nice and, maybe he can use her, come up with a plan with her. And then Kenzie, because also to patch things up. And Liz just melts down, screams at him for ruining her game. And to put it in context, Liz goes to Applebee's every Wednesday with her daughter. It's a special Survivor ritual they have. They go to Applebee's and then they watch Survivor. Plus, Liz is not eating. She can't eat coconut. She can't eat fish. She can't eat chicken. All she's had is rice, and she hasn't had anything since the merge feast. So she is going on like 0-calorie meltdown. And I think it's totally fair if you look at it in like the whole context. And plus, like, her favorite meal is sitting right next to Jeff. That was the third meal, the bourbon burger. So yeah, just all of this. And she just loses it at Q. And Q is just kind of quiet for a while, but eventually he's like, Liz, you voted for me last time. Liz has no response to that, because there is no response to that. Like, yeah, all of this sucks for Liz. And I do feel bad for her on a human level. None of this is Q's problem.
It sounds like a big old pile of not my problem, Liz. And Liz also lets out a lot of information. I don't know if it's actually valuable information, but information about like, Q, you overshadowed my game and you blew up all my plans and things I was trying to do, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, I wonder if this is stuff that she's actually told anybody other than just in confessional. Yeah. It'll be interesting if any of that ever comes up. I doubt it actually will, but I'm like, she's revealing more than just like, hey, this is frustrating because I haven't eaten and this is one of my favorite things to do and it reminds me of home.
Yep.
She adds everything onto the pile here.
It's hard. I'm not laughing, and I feel the need to defend myself because I laughed a lot.
A lot.
It's not because Liz is allergic to basically everything the island has to offer. It's because she voted for this guy twice, but then immediately turns around and begs and pleads to go on this reward when we all know if Q brings her, she goes in confessional and says, thank you, Q. This meant a lot to me. I'm still going to vote you out. Mm-hmm. Because that's who Liz is. Q had not 1, not 2, but 3 chances to bring her along and never picked her. And it was hilarious.
And in Liz's defense, let's say Liz did get brought and she did like, thank you, Q. You're going home. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to condemn her for that. That's the right move if that's the right move for your game. That cutthroat attitude is good. Q doesn't doing anything, Liz. That's the game that you signed up for. Like, it sucks. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't suck. I feel bad for you, but yeah. Q made the right choices, I think, for his game.
I think he made fine choices, but I'd like to pitch a new one to you guys. Should he bring Liz and Venus, maybe Maria, or just say, no, I don't want to bring anyone else?
Yeah, can you say no?
Just bring that misfit 3 that they got forced into for the previous challenge and say, I understand that we don't really like each other, but we all understand we need to go to the end together. Now, this would require 1 iota of self-awareness, which all 3 of these players are going to prove that they actually... Q proves he has 1 iota of self-awareness. Venus and Liz throughout this episode will prove that they do not.
Yep.
I think in a perfect world, gamification of Survivor, Q brings those 2, just those 2, and they talk about how they need to be a strong 3, and if they get voted out because of it, at least they're going down swinging. That's what I think.
That would be a good plan. From all accounts, it sounds like nobody wants to do anything with Venus, which is just wild.
Hilarious.
So yeah, I mean, maybe bringing Liz along, bringing Liz and Venus could be something, but it sounds like Venus is just such a wild card that nobody trusts her, nobody likes her. It's crazy how I don't even know the word I'm looking for, just how nutty this cast is.
How can we just said we haven't had a pariah like Q in a while, but that's a lie. We have Venus.
Venus has not been to that extreme. Just nobody likes her.
I think her being relegated into pariah status just happened silently, but but unequivocally and unanimously.
And I think since the merge, I don't think she knows that she's a pariah. I don't think she gets it.
No.
Please leave. What? No? Huh?
I would like to say that I think that this was a bad move by Q.
Okay.
Just because it's more of like the what's the best thing that can happen and worst thing that can happen type of thing. Like, yeah, like Liz this is really bad for Liz's game in my opinion, just like the look of it. But Q's got a lot of work that he has to do. Yeah, you can try to patch things up with Tiffany and Kenzie. I would almost maybe say like just let Tiffany go. Like it seems like you're not going to be able to get her back. Maybe bring Kenzie though. Like if you really want to go down that route of trying to repair Yanu. And sure, like Maria, Kenzie, and then toss Liz on there if you want to go that route. But Liz might actually change her mind over something like this.
Maybe.
If she feels this deeply about it, like only one thing can repair that relationship. It's Applebee's.
Apparently. I still think Q's thought process is good enough for me for these
It picks. Absolutely is. Like it is a perfectly fine thought process, and I don't feel bad like for Liz, honestly, but it's more thinking about like what other good can come from it.
Yeah. Liz is going to calm down and apologize. She doesn't really mean it. She'll apologize again later. Doesn't really mean it, but saying the right things, I guess, at this point. It's all you can do now.
Good for her.
Trying to put out the fires.
Q is going to pitch Yanu and Siga get together to take out Liz and Venus. Q, no. That's not what you want to do. And
no.
Kenzie and Tiffany, they're like, yeah, sure. No, never going to happen in a million years.
Why would Tiffany and Kenzie want to vote out Liz and Venus?
Nobody should want to vote those 2 out.
That, especially Q.
Yep.
Nobody more than Q. Kenzie and Tiffany, why would they vote them out? They're willing to work with them, and they can beat them, and they know it. This is a bad plan.
Q's pitched honestly be like, guys, biggest threat in the game, Charlie. Maria, I know you're close, but he's the biggest threat. I want to take him out. Swing for it.
Yeah, if everyone's coming for you anyways, just, let's see what'll happen.
Nobody's talking about Charlie. It's wild.
Or Maria.
I think she will be. As a next time on Survivor, she gets mentioned.
After this move today, Maria is going to be on the radar. Yep. I'm not saying she was under the radar. Tiffany has had her in her sights, but after something like this, everybody left needs to think, okay, all right, Maria's here. She's arrived.
But Maria, she wants to save Q, but at this point, she isn't sure she's going to be able to. But she'll be able to. So they get back to camp the next day after the reward. And for some dumb reason, Tiffany starts talking about how they were all so full that nobody ate the bourbon burger. No, not one burger got touched.
Not even a bite.
And someone was asking like for details a little bit, and Tiffany just goes on and explaining about how good it was. This is some really like Survivor 101 stuff. Don't talk too much about the reward. Say it was good and move on.
And this is under normal circumstances. Yep. That's good advice.
This
let alone everything else that had already happened surrounding this reward.
You know, it's fitting that Kenzie's last name is Petty, because this is what it felt like. It almost felt like it was getting rubbed in just a little bit, and I can honestly see them doing it.
See, I don't think so. I think Tiffany just didn't even occur to her. She was just going on.
Charlie said, as they approached, we don't want to hear too much, but we want to hear some. And, I mean, in fairness, they were getting asked a lot of questions. I think just give short answers. You don't have to throw it in anyone's face.
That is a trap from Charlie.
It is 100% a trap.
And here's what you say. You get back from war. How was it? Tell us, how was it? It was good. It was nice. And move on.
It was really nice. Hey, what do we need to do around camp?
And if they start like, no, you got to give us more. I'm like, I don't really want to. Not everybody wants to hear this.
Or maybe we'll talk about it later. Maybe around the fire later.
Yeah. You can honestly just say, like, I don't think everybody wants to hear like details. Like, that just seems mean.
To me, it's like diffusion of the novelty, right? You get back to camp. It's kind of, oh, hey, something's happening. The people are back. It's a buzz. It's fresh. The emotions get brought back to the surface for someone like Liz. Diffuse it.
So, basically, we're going to go to the immunity challenge. And everybody's like, we don't want Q or Tiffany to win because it's one of those two going home. Jeff is going to offer another rice negotiation. 4 people sit out or 2 people will give up their votes. They're not going to get it, so he's going to offer individual portions of rice. Anyone can sit out for a jar of rice just for them. And this is just production feeling bad. So Liz is going to take it and get some rice.
Yeah, I fully believe that they have other options that they had planned for just in case they weren't able to get a negotiation done the first time, that they're going to try again later on. It's the mini jars that I don't think they had planned. I think that was created specifically for, someone who can't eat right now.
Yeah. Maybe a good time to bring this up. If you're allergic to everything on the island, I understand Survivor is your dream. Do you want to know what I've wished that I could do ever since I was a boy? Dunk a basketball. Do you want to know what I can't do? Dunk a basketball. Do you know what else I can't do? And Liz, big fan of the podcast, maybe not after tonight, I very likely cannot go out and start a multi-million-dollar business and be wealthy. So there are things that we can do. There are things that we can't. I don't love that production seemingly is folding and just giving Liz some rice. She knew what she was signing up for. I don't love it. This might just not be the game for Liz.
Yeah, I agree. Not that huge of a deal just because they offered it to everyone, and you had to give something up. Yeah, Liz wasn't going to win this challenge anyway. It's whatever. It's kind of negligible. But yeah, I'll never be the lead singer in a rock band. I would love to be the lead singer in a rock band. I think that'd be so fun. I can't sing a note. I'm the worst singer you've ever heard in your life.
And Jeff just mentioned this on his podcast this last week that, this was the deal going into this season is like, someone like Liz, like, we're not going to make exceptions. We're not going to provide them with other types of food just because you have. And the question was more about specific just allergies, just in general, not Liz's situation, but anyone who might be allergic to just like anything and providing other options on like a reward, let's just say. He's like, no, that's just part of the game. So it made it feel a little bit weird that they had the individual jars just after hearing that from him. Yeah.
It's a little sus, but whatever.
I was going to say, by the way, Ryan, I agree with you that it's negligible. We're all good people here. It's just more the what the game represents.
Stick to your guns, Survivor. On some things. Not everything.
Yes.
Charlie's going to win immunity, and he's going to tell us he thinks that grip strength is like the most important thing you can have in Survivor. And so he spent a lot of time beforehand training for that. So using those like squeezy handle thingies, whatever they're called.
Just so you know, Survivor, I purchased those, and I train grip strength every day, just like Charlie. Weird fact about grip strength for the listeners. It's one of the leading predictors of, I think, male lifespan, but I think it might just be lifespan in general. Grip strength correlates with lifespan. I can't explain that.
And improving it, or just like the natural grip strength that you have?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I'm just throwing that out there for the people.
Long live Charlie.
So everyone wants Q out. It seems like Tiffany's like, oh, I could probably hold on to my idol for another vote. No, you can't. We talked about this last time. The Malcolm Freeberg strategy. You go into tribal council or you tell people ahead of time. Either one works. And you're like, I'm playing this tonight. And everybody like, okay, he's playing tonight. We won't vote for him. Cool. And then you don't play it. Oh, gotcha. That's not going to work again. Next time, they're going to be sneaky and they're going to come for you. You cannot do that again. Tiffany absolutely has to play the idol tonight. I know it's just like Q's such an easy vote. Q's also such a perfect smokescreen, and they spend the entire tribal council talking about how great of a smokescreen he is. That should have been a red flag for Tiffany. So Tiffany's not going to play her idol tonight, and she should have.
Yeah, and this is such an interesting scenario because Tiffany doesn't do the same thing as last week where she says, I'm definitely going to be playing it tonight. I don't want this idol anymore. It's a target, yada, yada, yada. She doesn't say any of that as far as we see. I think she only told the confessional that it's like, I'm not going to play it. Like, this is such an easy slam dunk vote that I'm not going to play it. And so at least she's not doubling down on that strategy, because then people can call her out and be like, no, she's not going to do this twice in a row. Let's split the votes or do whatever we want to do. She's gone completely silent, and now they're just going to silently blindside her because of it.
One piece of evidence in Tiffany's favor. By the way, I agree that if you pull the Malcolm play, you need to play it the next time. Yeah. In the 40s so far for Survivor, once people know that an idol is out there, I feel that people have generally been leaving them alone until 5 and making them burn it at that one and then taking them out immediately afterward. Or if they weren't a big threat, just not caring, Alexander.
There's been a lot of people vote out idols in their pockets in the 40s. A lot of them. Play them. The people have gotten good at this game and deceptive. Just play them. If people, especially people know about it, you can do the Malcolm, do it once, play it.
If you feel you can do the Malcolm.
Yeah, if you feel, someone like Hunter, probably not. But Tiffany, she did it. Move on, play the idol. You can always find it again. But to get there, Kenzie's going to backtrack. Kenzie was originally one of the people who wanted to get out Tiffany. She's like, I don't really feel like it. And she's really playing with her heart here because she wants Q out of the game for just personal reasons, no strategic reasons at all. So big mark against Kenzie in this episode.
Yeah, she's also, I think that there's a little bit of worry here about the idol. And she's, I think, worried about the ramifications on what happens if everyone votes for her and then she plays it and she's like, well, what's that going to look on my side? Like, I voted against Tiffany, but she's still here. I think she's too worried about that rather than like burning a friendship or something
people
along
can be
those lines.
Pissed. That's fine. Like, you don't have to be friends with everybody after the game. Like, if you guys can go over it, that's great. That's fine. But, look at Boston Rob. He burned a lot of people. Few people don't want to be friends with him anymore. I think he's doing okay.
Yeah, he's still on Deal or No Deal Island.
Is he really still on that one?
Spoilers.
Well, I mean, as of what I've heard.
Wow. Good for him.
I just watched the first episode and that's it.
Practically speaking, if Kenzie doesn't want to take out Tiffany because she's afraid of how it might look for Tiffany to play her idol and her to have voted for her, she's giving Tiffany a free pass to vote her out before 5 because there's absolutely nothing that Kenzie can do if that's her line of thinking. You need to take the shot at some point. I, oddly enough, didn't mind it last week as much as you guys did. I don't mind Kenzie targeting Tiffany this episode. I'm a little disappointed in her for backing off because she's opening it up to be somebody else's move now.
That's what happens.
Spoiler alert. Maria
is like, I want to take out Tiffany. So she's going to pull in Ben and Charlie and Q. So they have 4. They can just do this. They could just hang here, force a tie. People flip on the revote.
Absolutely Venus.
Yeah, Venus. Probably people would flip on the revote, but they're gonna pull in Liz anyway, and we could just pull in Liz, and it works. They do convince Liz to go. The smart move is get rid of Tiffany and her idol. It's a big move. So yeah, they're gonna get 5 votes for Tiffany, 3 for Q. Tiffany doesn't play her idol. Tiffany's out of the game, and it is glorious. Kenzie and Venus were left out, and their faces, especially Kenzie's, are just great. Oh, I loved it.
I've been really rooting for Kenzie, so it was a little tough to see this works so perfectly against her. Everything that she was trying to do, the big moves, resume building thing that she wanted completely backfired and now makes her look even worse.
Was this the right move? Absolutely. No one should be going for Q. Now, Tiffany should have played her idol. And you know what? I guess it's fine if Tiffany actually go out of the game because she can still beat Venus and Liz. So yeah, I think if everyone played it optimally, obviously it's the same thing that happened last week. Tiffany would not be going home. But targeting Tiffany was the right move. Just Tiffany should have played her idol and knocked out really whoever.
Yeah.
Weirdly, if you're Liz, I've got Liz and Venus obviously in my. You're very likely not winning.
Yep.
I think I have Venus still at the bottom as of last week. We'll get into Dankdowns later. Once Liz finds out about this, people who kept her out of the last vote are bringing her in on this one. Why not go to Tiffany and tell her that she needs to play her idol and that she and her can throw a vote on Maria? And then the big move is yours. At least shared with Tiffany and you have time to get her out. You're back in the game, at least more solidly. And hopefully people forget about the fact that you had a pretty big outburst. I'm very disappointed in Liz for being the last to know and not doing something about it this time. I really think she should have.
Which is why I was actually on the side of just tie up the vote, bring in as few people as you possibly can to execute this vote, because Liz is the exact type of person to want to be able to do something like that. Now, is it her personality to do that? I don't know. Apparently not. But why risk it? Just tie it up instead. The more people that you get involved, the more likely it is to blow up in your face.
I could see Liz, let's say we tie and we're re-voting, I could see Liz just digging in her heels and be like, no, this is my move this time. We're voting for Q. You know, Venus could still flip, but I could definitely see Liz as someone who just digs her heels in. So, that's a risk.
It is.
Which, again, once we start talking about people can't be who they're not, it feels like Liz is absolutely gunning for Q. We all agree she needs Q.
Yep.
I think most of the audience would agree with us that Q, Venus, and Liz need each other. But optimally, strategically, if Liz was more self-aware, had correctly self-audited, she needs to talk to Tiffany about this, use Tiffany's idol as a big move for herself, get Tiffany to play it on herself, and knock a Maria out of the game.
Sure.
Not knock Kenzie out of the game. Don't knock Venus or Q out of the game. Knock Charlie out of the game. You have options here.
Charlie's got immunity.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, knock Ben out of the game. You have options here. Do something.
Building a resume, you need to get more creative than just, hey, like you had to get more creative than what Kenzie's proposing of like, you know, the biggest move that you can make in this game is taking out your number one ally. And, you know, that's your resume move that you can have at the end of the game. That doesn't have to be the case.
Right.
You can make other moves and tout those at Final Tribal Council, like what you're saying. It could just be, no, I just screwed up a move that someone else was making to better my game and change the direction of this game.
Natalie Anderson.
It could go a million different directions. It doesn't just have to be, I took out the biggest threat. Go me.
Yep. You can get creative. But the point is, you want to keep people who you can beat. Taking out Tiffany was good, but, you know, getting rid of her idol would have been just as good.
Yeah, and I also don't want to say what Liz should have done dictates did the right person go home. Tiffany, I think, was a right person to go home. So I'm not going to say the wrong person went home. I'm just saying it probably shouldn't have happened, like you said, but there are plenty of different ways this shouldn't have happened.
What did Twitter have to say?
We had 61% of Twitter say that yes, the right person got voted out tonight.
Okay. All right, let's get into best and worst player of the episode. Josh, kick us off. Who is your best player of the episode?
I went with Maria. She orchestrated this vote and was able to get people to come together and vote out Tiffany, who didn't include Kenzie, who was the first person to bring this up. Like, yeah, Maria has wanted to do this for a couple of episodes, but she didn't even need her. She did it all on her own and blindsided not only Tiffany, but also Kenzie in the process with that.
I gave Maria an honorable mention, but I ended up giving mine to Charlie because he won immunity and was part of this plan. The reason why I didn't give it to Maria is because I think the blowback's going to entirely fall on her. And I think she's going to get taken out because of this. So, while I like the move and I respect it, I think this might end her game. So, Charlie's my best player of the episode.
Ryan, I don't like that logic. I gave it to Maria because if we're talking just intra-episode, who boosted their resume and boosted their threat to win. Now, what happens next episode as a result of this episode? If she's too big of a threat and she goes home, cool. Then she reaps that. She reaped what she sowed. But within this episode, Maria's the one who comforted Q on the beach, understood that Q was a number, understood that Kenzie and Tiffany were playing with their hearts and were targeting Q without using any strategic bone in their body, pulled in Charlie, pulled in Ben, correctly called being able to pull in Liz on this plan, and send somebody with an idle home for the second straight week. I'm going to give it to Maria because intra-episode, there's nothing else to say.
I just think Charlie got the same results, and he's going to have less blowback. That was the tiebreaker for me.
It's gonna have to be very results oriented, I think, in the coming episodes. Because if you fast forward, let's say that Maria and Charlie are both at Final Tribal. This is something that Maria can say that was
very
her doing over him, and it's not impossible that both of them end up there.
Let's get a worse player. For me, it's Kenzie. She backed down on her play, was left out of the vote. She's gonna look real silly here. So Kenzie's my worst player of the episode. And I know like you could say Liz. But honestly, I don't think this outburst hurt her, like, at all. I think she stayed about the same. And I think everyone does like Liz. And I think everyone just felt bad for her, especially when you have people like Ben, who is just... He's kind of a bleeding heart a little bit. Like, he just is like, oh, man, I feel so bad for her. Besides Q, I don't really think anyone thinks any less of her. I don't think this hurt her game much, if at all. Just because I think so many people are so understanding of her. And, again, people like her. So, Kenzie's my worst player.
Well... You were mad at Tiff for having a much less animated blow up on Q last episode. So I'm gonna pressure test you on that. I'd like to push back on that a little bit, Ryan.
I mean, it's not good. I just don't think it hurt.
I'm just saying I feel like you should give more negative points given the size and scale. I did give it to Liz, and it's not just because of the blow up. The blow up is like a -1 of what happened. She still wants Q out. It tells me that she has absolutely no self-awareness with where she stands in this game. And
she didn't do it, though.
And she should, once she had the information from Maria, she should have switched the vote and stolen it, told Tiffany to play her idol, and made him move herself. That is what should have happened. And so because basically everything she did this episode was either out of her control or wrong, I'm giving it to Liz.
I give it to Liz as well. A little bit of the blow up. I don't know if it's, she technically can still win this game. So you need to be working as hard as you can to be able to get to a point where you are able to get people's votes in the end, which is why, like Derek said, you also need to be making moves outside of just the regular straightforward, I need to take out Q because he blew up my game. So now I need to get him back. And that's going to somehow get me votes in the end.
By the way, dishonorable mentions to Q and Venus, because Q, Venus, and Liz all want Q, Venus, and Liz to go out. Y'all need each other. Stop it with this.
All right. Let's get into who is going next. We're down to the, final 7 now?
7.
Derek, who is going out at 7?
7's always a big one. It's time for a big threat to go home. Someone who's not protected and someone who I don't think is going to win immunity. I do think this is going to fall back on Maria. I think, I said it last week, but I think Maria's time is coming to an end, and I think it would be the right move by almost anybody. So I have Maria.
I'm back off Kenzie. I think now that Tiffany went home, Kenzie's in a fairly safe spot going forward as far as like her threat level. So I think she's actually going to be fairly safe. So I'm gonna pull off of her now. I'm going back to Q. I'm going back to Q because these people cannot get their focus off of him. And if they're not careful, someone at the bottom is going to end up winning this game. So there needs to be other people that go home here to allow for an actually good winner to happen this season. And I think that person is Q. If I think of Liz, Venus, and Q, one of those has to go home. Otherwise, the editing of this season just doesn't make sense to me.
Liz, winner, edit.
That's the only thing so far that makes sense. But assuming that doesn't happen, I think that Q is the most likely of that group to go home, and there's just so much attention on him, whether it's right or wrong. I think they're just gonna cut him.
Attention spelled with a Q?
Sure.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Q's silent. No, I agree with Derek. I think Maria's going next for everything he said.
It's the easy pick. I'm going against the easy pick.
I like making the easy picks because if I'm right, I'm right. And if I'm wrong, it was exciting.
As shown by our danger zone 2 weeks in a row.
Hey, us being wrong on our danger zones 2 weeks in a row because people went home with idols in their pockets is 100% worth it.
You should figure that into your rankings, though. And I know I didn't, but I blame myself, and I should not have done that. We all had Tiffany at the top of our rankings again as the safest.
Because she had an idol. No one can blame us for that. No one can blame us for that.
We just saw Hunter get blindsided.
Doesn't matter.
I even thought about it. I'm like, she's going to get heat. No, I'm going to put her at the top
No
anyways.
one
Like,
can
I'm not
blame
saying
us.
she should be at the bottom, but like in the second or third spot. Just not number one, just for the sake of not having it be that way.
No one can blame
Put
us.
Venus in number one.
All right. Guys, I lost my winner pick again.
Oh,
Second
bummer.
time this season. Tiffany's out. So I have to move on. And I'm moving on to Charlie. I think Charlie's going to win this season. So my new winner pick, I'm locking in as Charlie.
I do think it's going to be either Charlie or Maria at this point. I felt so strongly about Maria. All she has to do is make it through probably this next vote, and she'll probably be good.
And I don't think she will, therefore, Charlie. And no one is talking about him. It's insane how little he's been brought up as a threat. Everyone likes him. He's a challenge beast, turns out.
Apparently.
He's really smart. He's got everything going for him.
He hasn't really done anything strategically yet, I would say, other than just aligning himself.
Maria here. I think Maria's getting cut here, and I think Charlie's going to do it.
Ryan, you're wrong. He doesn't have everything going for him. He's a law student.
Derek, I cannot wait for a law student to win. And to be fair, Cochran was also a law student.
But he gave it up, and he became a writer.
And
so he's a reformed law student.
Charlie could do the same thing. On the other side of the spectrum, who cannot win this game in our rank down, jank down, dank downs, and our lank downs now?
Our lank downs.
We got to check in with those. Josh, start us off. Give us your jank down.
I'm not going to change a whole lot to mine this week. And I feel really good about Maria being in my number one spot still. So she's going to stay number one. Charlie is moving up from 3 to 2, though. And then that means that Kenzie is going to go down to 3 in this process. I still think that there's a pretty sizable gap now from the 3 of them to everyone else. But after Kenzie there, we're going to go to Ben, Liz. It's a toss-up. I'm still gonna say Q over Venus. In the off chance that it's a final 2, and they're both there, Q's gonna have something to say, and Venus probably won't. Or she won't have anything true to say. Everything that she says is gonna get debunked. So yeah, Q is still above Venus for me.
Mine only changed one spot. I flipped Maria and Charlie. I have Maria number 1 just because, like, if the game ended today, she would win. Like I said, I still think she's getting voted out, but I think she beats everybody else. So Maria, Charlie, Kenzie, Ben, Liz, Venus, Q.
I only flipped 1, and I'm bringing Maria back up to the top. I had Maria at the top at the merge, and then I ended up swapping her with Kenzie. Now I'm back to Maria, followed by Kenzie. Because Tiffany's on the jury, it's a jury vote for Kenzie. Then Charlie, Ben, Liz, Q, and Venus.
All right. What about the listeners? Checking on that laying down.
From last week.
Yeah, last week's average, the listener Lankdowns had Charlie at the top. So
all the way to the top.
Big jump for Charlie this last week, followed by Maria, then Kenzie. Tiffany was after her, then Ben, Liz, Venus, and Q saw a pretty big drop to the bottom with the listeners.
That tracks.
Yep.
Okay. Well, where can listeners submit this?
They can submit it anywhere on social media. Castaway Pod on Instagram or Twitter. Castaway Consultants on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. All you have to do is just comment on any of our posts or send us a DM, or you can interact with us on Spotify.
As always, go to the interact portion below the episode on Spotify. You can type it out from least likely to most likely to win. You can separate them out in tiers. If you do that, make sure you put them in order in those tiers. And if there's a poll question, we actually had our biggest poll of all time about worst player last week. Q came out as number 1, but followed very closely by Kenzie and Liz. So our 3 worst were by far considered to be the worst, with only a small portion of people coming back and saying other. So go and interact with that. I'm not sure what the question will be this week. We'll see.
Okay. Last thing we got to do, our survivor pool. Last week, I had Q, and Derek, you had Kenzie. We both survived. Therefore, the only person we both had left was Ben. So we're just going to reset. But, so we're resetting with the final 7, everyone we got left. But for funsies, we're going to leave Ben in there twice because neither of us have used him. So we if Ben keeps living, we can keep picking him twice. But yeah, we can pick anyone at left, and we're resetting, and still no Josh, though.
Huh.
So, my pick in the survivor pool, who I think is not going home at the final 7, is Liz.
Well, if I can use Ben twice, I need to use him once. So, I'm picking Ben.
Okay.
I'm picking Ben to be safe this week. We'll see how it goes.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Derek, what are you going to do now that you've used Ben?
Maybe use him again next week, hopefully. we'll see.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Well, hopefully somebody's going to win this thing. Hopefully me.
Hopefully you. Yeah, we'll see.
Odds are one of you guys will. I don't see you matching all the way through the finale.
That would be really cool, though.
Be wild.
Have a legitimate tie.
Yeah, I think we'd have to try and pick the votes, like the final breakdown of the votes if we tie it all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And if we tie on that, I don't know what we do. Do a rock draw, fire making competition.
Fight to the death.
That works too. All right, guys. Anything else to talk about tonight?
No, just thanks basically for all the new listeners. It was a pretty cool week for us to see. I don't know if people have been recommending us to their friends, so keep doing that. But we saw a nice little bump here this last week and the last couple of weeks. So for anyone who is new out there, welcome. And thank you for listening.
And my one small call to action, if you can find a way to work us into one Reddit comment or one Twitter mention, if you happen to go there, don't go to social media for us, but if you're already on social media, just mention us one time.
At Castaway Pod.
At Castaway Pod.
Well, on that note, to quote one of my favorite comedies of all time, let's go get kicked out of an Applebee's. This has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.